Good morning, everybody. It's Erin Scott here. Let me get my little highlighter up here. It's Thursday, May 7th, 2020, and I'm going to be talking about the full moon, the Scorpio full moon, which we actually have already had the exact point occur. It happened at 6:45 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay? So we're going to talk about a couple of the things here. I'm also going to look at the symbology. I'm here with my coffee. And listen, there's a lot in the news cycle. There's a lot going on in the world, okay? And I hope, I guess my hope for everybody is that you are able to stay grounded, stay present moment, stay breathing, and understand that even though there is, without question, lots going on. There's a convergence of all kinds of event horizons occurring with the planet, with the human psyche, with the systems, the societal systems that we have built as humans. Everything is coming to collapsing points, okay? This has been the case. We've known that this is coming for a while. In fact, a lot of this stuff that's coming into play now, everybody, has been seeded. It was it was seeded like in the late 60s, early 70s. So we're seeing everything come to fruition now. It is part of the natural evolutionary cycle of things. The other thing that I want to say is that please take all of the news that you're hearing, whether it is from the traditional news channels and stations and pathways, or whether it's through alternative pathways, please take it all with a grain of salt. There's much going on, but everybody bringing forward the story has their own particular skew on making the story more impactful, more dramatic, more fear-based, more shock-based. Why would they do that? Because it gives a certain emphasis to the story. It emphasizes a position. Breathe and take it all in. Read and consume the video stuff that's coming out. It's all coming out. Everything's becoming unveiled, everybody, as you all know, right? Things have been unveiling. All of the secret agendas and all of the stuff that is in the background, it is simply coming up into light. So we don't have to awfulize it. We don't have to make it more dramatic than it is. I'm noticing that even the people that are well-meaning, that are bringing forward stories that are important for our life now, it's important to stay awake to what's going on. Everybody has their own position, perception, and agenda. So just be light with it. Take it with a grain of salt. There's a lot going on, and you can still remain grounded, and you don't have to follow the fear-based narrative or the energetic that pulls people out of themselves and into the story. Okay? Now, let's start with the sun moon opposition. 17 degrees 20 minutes Taurus is the sun. The sun is conjunct Uranus at 7, so we have a 10-degree orb here. We have the sun conjunct Mercury, and we have the sun conjunct by another 10-degree orb, Sedna. So Sedna is on one side of the sun, and Uranus is on the other side of the sun. 7, 7, 7. And of course, we have the moon at 17 degrees 20 minutes Scorpio. Okay, so we have this 17-degree polarity. and we have Taurus Scorpio polarity. So let's talk about, um, first of all, the Taurus Scorpio polarity. This has to do with um, self and other. It has to do with interdependence and merging with the other versus self reliance and meeting your own basic needs, creating your own, manifesting your own life of comfort, and also self value. So, this is very much about the individual. This is very much about the collaboration with other, the merging into other, the knowing of other, the interplay with other. Okay, so we have self and other that's being activated here naturally during this particular time. One thing that I would say is that any of you that have planets at around the middle points of Taurus and around the middle points of Scorpio, you're being impacted very directly by this moon. This is a powerful moon. I woke up early this morning around the time, actually, of the full moon, even before that. And, there's a lot in the news cycle today. There was a toxic leak in India that's killed people, it's toxified people. There's lots of stuff happening with channels being removed from YouTube and more of a heavy hand happening with stuff that's coming up and out into the public consciousness, right? So, anyway, any of you that have midpoint Taurus, midpoint Scorpio natal angles or planets, you want to pay attention to what's happening for you this week because it's bringing a certain spotlight to it. Whenever we're looking at the full moon, the sun is showing its light on the moon fully. So we have this kind of exacerbation. We have a spotlight, we have a highlight on moon Scorpio narratives. And this talks about what really matters to you and what really matters to us all as a collective with regards to unveiling secrets when it comes to the power dynamics that are playing out, the manipulations possibly that are occurring here. But it talks about the shadowed stuff within. So, the moon in Scorpio inherently always would bring out some sort of clarity. There would be clarity arising, not just today, but in previous days and in the week ahead, to power agendas, things that have been secret or withheld. Okay, now this is also with regards to your own life. So something is coming to light for you now with regards to where you hold Scorpio. What house is that? What planets do you have near this point? When it comes to that, you're going to get clarity on something. Or you will hope to get clarity. Life will bring you something that will prompt clarity. It's your free will choice to ignore it or not. Okay? But something wants to come to light. Something will come to light if you allow it, if you have the eyes to see it. Okay? So let's talk about this opposition point. The moon is opposing not just the sun, but Uranus and Mercury and Sedna, for God's sake. There's a lot of, let's say, opposition to the moon. When we're talking about the sun, we're talking about the more masculine aspects of the self, the more externalized, action oriented aspects of the self. This is the external persona. When we're talking about the moon, we're talking about the more feminine quality sets. We're talking about the more receptive internal reality within the individual aspects of the self, internal, external, masculine, feminine. So when we're talking about the opposition, there's a lot of kind of, let's say, intense masculine energy that could be opposing internal knowing. And when we're looking over here, this kind of energetic of the sun is connected to Uranus. Uranus is going to bring clarity up with regards to technology. And the interesting thing is, before I started recording this for you today, there was another, well, let me just tell you what it was. It was a photograph somebody had posted on Facebook, okay? And I haven't vetted it. I don't know who this person is. I tried to find them. I couldn't find them. This isn't vetted. I think everybody needs to just take a breath here because lots of stuff's being shared. It might be true. It might not be true. We don't know. It takes vetting. It takes like research. It takes clarity here, right? But the thing is, something got shared on Facebook this morning. It was a photograph. It was a series of photographs that essentially showed satellites literally in a night sky looking at the stars. There were evident repeating patterns of satellites that are now existent. Now, where this guy lives, I have no idea. I couldn't find him to vet it properly, which actually kind of pisses me off, to be quite frank. It's like, don't state this stuff if there's no record of where you are on the planet and what date this was and who are you and all this kind of shit. Pardon my French. But that's what we're talking about here. But the thing is, of course there's satellites being put up into the atmosphere right now. There are, because many, many, many people have reported it over the course of months and over the last year. So there's satellites being put up for 5G, but there's also satellites being put up for other things as well. And it's happening now. It's happening. So we're in this new stage. And the fact is that, as most of you know, we have Saturn that is now, as of the full moon point, as of today, Saturn is at 1 degree 57 minutes, Aquarius. It has begun its 2.5 year journey through Aquarius. Saturn through Aquarius for the next couple and a half years, everybody. This is a lot of, this is a lot. This is going to be the social isolation narrative that we've all been undergoing. This is a lot of attempt to control the population. That's what this is. Ultimately, what Saturn wants to do, what the function of Saturn does, is a focus to mature in order to manifest something new with regards to humanity. So again, we each have free will choice about how we utilize this Saturn energy. However, are the powers that be going to create certain conditions to isolate and restrict and control? Of course. That's what's happening now. And it's connected over here to Uranus. So this 1 degree Saturn is connected to this by square to this 7 degree Uranus point, right? And what does that mean? There's going to be attempts to control through technology. Okay? Now, keep in mind, this Saturn very quickly here is going to be going retrograde. It's going to be going retrograde in a few days. This Saturn going retrograde is actually going to pop back into Capricorn, where we have these other energetics happening. And there's going to be probably a renewed, attempt to that gets configured here. Like new ideas of governments get configured here. And then at the winter solstice, we have Saturn moving back up to this 0 degree Aquarius point where it's going to meet Jupiter. This is really a very important critical point of indicating really the beginning of a distinct new paradigm in the human condition. This is happening at the end of the year. So there is going to be lots going on that a lot of people are not going to like. And it is going to, of course, cause a pushback. But my point in bringing all of this up today is that there's no accident that I happen to see this post today from somebody on Facebook who I don't always see their posts. And this particular post happened in correlation with the Scorpio full moon and in connection to this moon opposition Uranus. Because again, with Uranus, we're talking about all kinds of themes, but one of them is technology. So, you better believe that there's stuff that's going to be coming to light for you, all of you listening to my voice here, that will have to do with some of the future attempts, the future of humanity and the attempts of the government to control humanity or control the collective, okay? So we don't have to be in fear about it. We can understand that indeed it is part of the evolutionary process of humans to move into a new stage of advanced technological AI realities. It's part of the unfolding process for us. I personally don't like it. I personally am not resonant with that reality. It's not something that I'm looking forward to, but it is happening and it is part of our evolutionary process, period. There's no way around it. And humans adjust and humans adapt. So there's clever ways that we as individuals are going to be able to assert our individuality, which is part of this Uranus Sun narrative, by the way. This is the rebel here, like the rebel who can uniquely come up with survival and the manifestation of a comfortable, abundant reality for themselves in a way that is not going to, let's say, succumb or necessarily accept, mass vaccinations, for example. Okay? So there's ways that people are highly creative. This is going to come out over the next 5 years. High creativity. And this is also part of the thing that the moon, as things start to come into our awareness, as things start to get unveiled or continue rather to get unveiled, more innovation is going to come forward. Part of this Uranus and Taurus is unique creative solutions here. Okay? Now, the other thing that I really want to pay attention to is that when we're talking about Sedna on top of Mercury, what that means, and this is important, to really, really drink in and recognize, because people need to do better, okay? Individuals need to do better when it comes to being responsible for their own mind, using their mind more efficiently, using their intelligence. For example, lazy minds, laziness with regards to thinking, laziness with regards to communicating. That Sedna can create an exacerbated process of a lazy mind, a fear-based mind, reactionary mind, communicating based on fear narratives. I mean, come on. There's a push for us all to wake the hell up out of the collective delusion of, I am my physical body, and, death is always the prime fear for people. And so it's time that we let it go. And it's time that we start trusting. And the Sedna on the mind, Sedna, the narrative of Sedna, is about the experience of betrayal and death. So on the mind, unconsciously, perhaps consciously, people are going to be in a state of some sort of fear and distrust. So there's this mental distrust that's activated consciously or unconsciously. It's recognized or it's not recognized. It doesn't matter, but it's still there. And so it's running people. Unless you're awake and really observant of your own mind, your own thinking, your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own responses to things, this reactionary mind, just reacting and responding to everything that's happening, versus being self-awake and self-aware to what's activating your thoughts, your thinking, your mind, your responses. For those that are awake, there's going to be a reality that, yeah, I have some fear coming up, and I'm going to trust my ability to create and manifest what I need and what I want here. So the government is failing and farms are dumping tons of food because the distribution channels have ceased. I mean, there's a ridiculousness to that reality. There's such a ridiculousness to it because the systems that are built are unsustainable. They always were. All of the collapses that are happening, everybody now, everything coming up because of the virus is correct. It had to come up to collapse because the systems were unsustainable. There's no need to sit in a state of, I can't trust and I fear. This is about creative new manifestations with Taurian, earth, soil, agribusiness, food systems, financial systems, all of these kind of things, gift economies. All of the clever, clever, clever. The new world can be aligned in balance, naturally appropriate, healthful, abundant, win-win solutions left and right. This can be the reality for humanity, everybody. But my God, I mean, so many people are just stuck in such an antiquated reality here. My Lord. And there's no need to jump to this theory and that theory and that theory. Let it go. Stop identifying too tightly to anything. Please. Why? Because still so much is not clear. Still so much more to come to light. And could it be that this week there's going to be so much more coming to light? Sure, of course. And in the months to come and in the years to come. Hold it lightly. The information coming, many truths exist at once. It's not this or that. There's many things happening all at the same time. Okay? There's a complexity to the life now, everybody. There's a complexity. More information in the field leads to more complex systems. So you must learn to utilize the complex aspect of your mind. It requires an evolved mind. And this sedna on the mind can create, oh, I don't trust my own mind. I don't even trust my own thoughts. I don't even trust my own ability to manifest or garden or, plant my own food and build my own life and make my own income. Or create the new system where money isn't even a thing, you know? There's all kinds of beautiful things that can emerge here, but my goodness, the people that are kind of tapping in solely to the fear-based narratives, I have to tell you, for those of you still listening to this video, for those that want to understand what's true and what's not, feel into your body system when you listen to a certain theory. Feel it in your body. Okay? How does it make your body feel? Let that be a very clear indicator about truth or not for you. Okay? Now let's see what else we have activated here. The other thing that I want to talk about is this, because the moon-sun opposition, and the sun, of course, is with Uranus, Mercury, Sedna, these are in a T-square formation to Mars. And very specifically, this 26-degree Mars is squaring Sedna. But all of this is really part of this T-square. The T-square is active movement. So there's a dynamic active movement about stuff, changes for the individual, the need for the individual to be free, the need for the individual to trust their own ability to manifest the life that they want and desire. And stuff coming to light is part of this process of them moving more toward their own individuation, independence, and kind of rebellious nature, but one that is instigating the more futuristic aspect of the individual, the more evolved and refined and free, sovereign aspect of the individual. So the more stuff that comes to light, There's more activation for the individual to be free and to trust themselves. And it's connected to Mars in Aquarius. So this is action with regards to humanitarian efforts. It's action with regards to Uranian Aquarian narratives. And this can look like many things. Certainly, it can look like action taken on behalf of humanity. But you have to understand, everybody individually is going to operate differently with this T-square. This is the T-square for all of us. Each person, depending on their awareness level and their conscious evolution process, wherever they're at, they're going to respond very differently to this T-square. Some people are going to aggressively take action with humanity as a whole or with demographics of people that will be a bit cold, cruel, and detached, and it will be linked to power dynamics, secretive power dynamics, and this might be linked to instigating fear and using technology to do it. So for some people, that's going to be activated. For other people, this is going to be stuff coming to light, creating the impetus for the individual to grow and evolve and become the next iteration of who they are, and to use the energy of what's happening collectively to do it. They're listening and they're attending to what's happening on the collective stage, on the world stage, in the collective psyche. Okay? So it depends on who the person is, right? The other thing that we have here is number one, the nodes moved 2 days ago on the 5th, right? So for this moon, we have the nodal axis officially in Gemini Sagittarius. Actually, I'm not going to talk about that in this video because I've made 2 videos on it, and I encourage you all to watch it because there was a lot of very good and juicy information that came through with that video, with both of those videos. So with regards to the nodal axis, it's now at 29 degrees. It's going to be held here for the next couple of months. 29 is a critical degree. There's a need here to evolve from a position of belief systems and an insistence of truth to communicating and orienting the life outside of, let's say, even global events, focusing on global events, to local events, local community. 29 is a critical degree, so there's a need to do that over the next couple of months. What we have here for this full moon is Venus. Venus and Hygeia. Now, Hygeia, I'm not the biggest expert on Hygeia, but it represents in the this asteroid Hygeia represents health, wholeness. So where we're holding it is what we're valuing, because here we have Venus. What are we valuing? Well, we're valuing overall, all of us, growth and evolution because it's with the North Node. But there's a critical need with the 29 to actually attend to valuing the local, the community, etc. So there's a need to mature our value system and really attend to what's local versus drinking in the news, all the mass communications that are out here in the world. Nope, that's what we're here to release. It's about letting stuff go, that's happening even across the world. It's not about not paying attention to what's happening globally, but this kind of obsession that we've moved into as humans to kind of concern ourselves with all of the events going on everywhere else in the world. Listen, there's a lot going on. That's going to leak a lot of your mental energy to focus all your attention on what's going on out here. It's ridiculous. What needs to happen is stay local, let the other local demographics deal with what's going on. It's not to say that we're not going to help each other globally. But this is the focus that needs to happen. This is the evolutionary process. And we're needing to grow the value system with regards to that. It's also, by the way, can I just say, local money. Local money. Because Venus rules many things, including money in abundance. So, where is the money and abundance for us? Not just for this full moon cycle, but really, when we're talking about a Scorpio full moon, this happens once a year. So, we're talking about an annual cycle. From this Scorpio full moon to the next Scorpio full moon in 2021, this is really the growth. Local communities, local income, local farms, these kind of mass produced food warehouses and these different companies producing food. Listen, local bakers, local farmers. This is where it's at. This is the growth. And it's also the health and the wholeness because we have Venus with Hygeia. What we're going to value ultimately over the course of this week and this month ahead, but also the year ahead, has to do with local health, local wholeness, really. So there's a beautiful narrative here that's playing out. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to talk about here. Let's talk about, well, I was going to say talk about the part of fortune. However, I have to say this only applies to the Eastern US time zone. And for a lot of you, that's going to impact you because you're on the Eastern time. Part of fortune is calculated with sun, moon, and ascendant point, and the ascendant point's based on Eastern US. The 4 degree is interesting. Let me just point it out. 4 is representing practicality and stability, organization, like the analytic function of the mind. This is like the discerned function of our belief system. The natural flow for us during this process is about practical information or learnings, practical understandings and belief systems. So there, in other words, I see that there's a level of discernment when you step into a discerned space, when you step into a practical orientation with things. This is the natural flow, and it's going to aid with, you can see that the part of fortune here is opposed to the ascendant, but it's also opposed Sedna. So it's going to aid with issues of fear and trust. Because again, Sedna is showing where we've experienced betrayal, so thus we don't have trust now. So if we move into the flow of practical belief systems, seeing there's many sides to many things. There is no black and white. This is about vetting. This is about vetting information. It's exactly what I was starting to come up with, or what I started to speak earlier when I was talking about this full moon. And the post that I saw earlier showing the photograph of the satellites, and with a whole kind of diatribe of personal ideas that this person had, some of which I believed or I agreed with. But the point is, who is this guy? I don't know. This takes vetting. We all need to learn to vet better. And we all need to learn to wait to share information until we understand it more fully. Otherwise, everybody's sharing information mindlessly, haphazardly. That's part of this 29-degree south node in Sag, everybody. It's like this kind of propensity to just, oh my God, yeah, it's reactionary. It's like, excuse me, who is that person and what is that based on? So we all need to learn to be a little more matured, 29-degree, with our beliefs and the sharing of mass information. This is tied to this particular Scorpio full moon. Lots of potential for human growth and evolution over the course of this week, this month, this year, and certainly for the rest of this 2020 cycle and beyond. Again, between 2020 and 2025. Lots of changes. I mean, we're not going to recognize our reality in 5 years, everybody. Okay? So breathe, stay grounded, practice what I call and what I've heard others refer to as radical self-care. This is a time to Care for yourselves. Be still, contemplate, reflect. This is a time of correct recalibration of your life, of the life that you want to build, of what you want to create for yourself. This is correct. The job that went away, those of you that are unemployed, let it go away. Let it dissolve. There's new things for you. There's new alignment for you. There's a correct career for you. There's the correct expression of your distinct blueprint. Period. Period. So, yeah, again, lots going on, many things. Some of it feels more negative. Some of it feels more exciting. Hold it all with a grain of salt. Okay. All right, everybody. For those interested in learning more about me, my services, you can see the links below. And until the next video, I send you much love. Bye-bye.